Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I'm so glad you're with me today. We are spotlighting these dahlias, and they're wonderful flowers. This is going to be a special offer for 1 week. You can get these at a special price. You can just go to our website. You can see that they create actually 4 different flowers because they have 3 here, and then they have an enclosed stencil, so you can make the really large flower with the stencil. And then they have the dies to cut out 3 of the flowers. And I'm also using a Into the Blooms Christmas sprigs because it has a nice spray of leaves that will work out nicely. And then I needed a little accent flower, and you'll see when we make the last card that I just wanted those little spiky flowers that are into the blooms too. But you can find anything that you happen to have in your stash that would work nicely for this. And then I have a stitched leaves cover plate that's going to be used for one of the cards also. So like I said, we're using 2. Then for a supporting, I'm using some, these are supporting products. I'm using those scalloped rectangles from L'Enfant. And then I have 2 sets from Spellbinders. And one of them is the Yana's Sentiments, and the other one is Wonderful Script. And they both do several words that I like a lot because they give you a nice, see how that birthday, you can see that, and the hello. They have the shadows for them also, so you can either leave them alone or together with the shadow. What you'll see that later. I have 2 card bases. This one happens to be 6 by, oh, it's like 6 1/8 by 5, and the other one is an A2. So I have just these supply of papers, and I wanted to show you. You can use like a combination paper, like this has an assorted of 48 colors. They're wonderful. I think it's 48 or maybe 36, but they have every color that you need here, so you can just use a pad like that, or you can use, there's lots of different papers, and I'll list them all in our supply list. There'll be a link down below, but you'll need, I used a couple of greens, I used a yellow, a pink, and I used black and brown, and of course white. And so those are the colors I used. A lot of these you just need a scrap of them, so you can go in your scrap paper scrap bin and use some of those. Then for the inks, I'm using a combination of distress inks. I love to use these mini cubes when I'm working with small things, and this has the reds, pinks, and yellows, and I'm using some of the Concord and Ninth. And I'll call those out as I go along, but you can see I'm going to use some of the pinks and yellows in this also. So I'll just kind of pick and choose whatever ones that I like. But so we're going to get started by putting in my stamp positioner the 3 blooms that are stamps, and then we have the stencil. I'm just kind of showing you the stencil, but first we're going to do the 3 blooms. I'm going to start with the largest one, and the idea with this is to use a variety of colors. I've selected a bunch here. I'm going to start out with honeysuckle, which is a Concord and Ninth, but you can use whatever colors you want. Now the idea is to have them have each flower have a little contrast to the other, but also to be complementary. So I'm using a combination of colors. I like to combine colors. Like I say, this is the honeysuckle, and you'll see that I move that magnet and it goes right on top of one of the stamps, and I didn't realize that until after I was had stamped some others. I was so busy concentrating on other things. But for contrast, I'm using, for like in the center, I'm using Festive Berry, which is a distress ink. But again, just get your inks out and just combine colors that you like, that you think are very complementary together. I like to add the dash of yellow to some of my pink flowers, so I'm using Wild Honey here. And I'm just going to stamp these, just adding just little bits of color, and then I'll go on to the next. Now these are a 2-part stamp. Each of them has an outline stamp also. So I started out with the ones that the stamps that are kind of the whole central, the fill of the flower, so to speak, and then I'll do the outlines later. And now I'm going to do a little bit darker. I'm going to use dragon fruit and poppy. Both of these are Concord and Ninth. And then I'll use a also maybe some picked raspberry, just to give this one a really kind of dark contrast color. I really like this color. But again, if you want these, we're kind of making a bouquet of flowers. So if you like the more pastels, then go for it. I just made a bunch of flowers, and you'll see that in a minute. Here, by the way, I'm using abandoned coral and poppy. And I maybe could have made that a little bit orangier just for some contrast. But you can see I stamp it a few times using a couple of different colors. You have to be careful with that, not to do too much, because if you do, it can get really muddled. So try to limit it to two or maybe three colors, like I did with the large one with adding the yellow. And now that I have that done, I'm going to take these outline stamps. Now you have to kind of figure out, to line these up perfectly, I look at the stamp and I look at what I can easily identify as a matching point, and then match it up with the stamp. There might be some petals in there that are very distinctive, and that's what I was looking for. And then I was able to match this up. So you have to spend a minute doing that. And then I used a darker color to stamp the outline. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of the poppy in there, and then maybe wipe a little bit of it off because it looked a little intense. And see, now you can see that outline, and it defines your flower. So now we're going on to the next one. I'm going to do the same thing, going with a darker color, using poppy here. And you can see when you add that, especially in the small flowers, you can really see that it really darkens the flower. So keep that in mind. If you want them lighter, start really light and then go with, because your outline needs to be a little bit darker usually, but experiment. It's up to you of what your eye really, what appeals to your eye. Now I'm going to use the stencil. I'm using Worn Lipstick, which is a distress ink, and I'm just going to use the stencil, and I'm going to take a peek here and just see. Now in the center I'm using some of that festive berry for the center, and then I'm going to use picked raspberry, again a distress ink. So this one is all distress ink. So I use, just recap, I'm using the Worn Lipstick, the festive berry, and the picked raspberry for this outline. And I really like the way this one is turning out. So I'm just going to blend on this color and take a look if I need to add a little bit more. And then I put a little more in the center, and then if I want to just blend it a little bit, I'll just, very light touch. I'm using a very light touch there. Now I actually put that large one, the stenciled one, a little bit too close to the others, so I'm going to have to cut out some of them and then go back and put the dies on the other. The little tiny one you see here, it has to be fussy cut out, so I always cut around it so I have a small piece of paper, and I kind of like to use that kind of jagged edge. It makes it look better than a completely round edge. Makes it look more natural. Now you can see I made lots and lots of flowers, all very similar, but you can use more contrast if you like. Now since I have a bunch of flowers, I have a big stack there, I'm going to go on to doing the yellow flowers that I'm going to use for one of the cards. I like these little spiky ones. So I decided to use the Into the Blooms #2. And I used a yellow. And I'm going to stack them together so that they have a little bit more fullness. And then there is also a center to them that I'm going to color with a darker yellow. But for the leaves, I used that Christmas sprigs, and I used two different colors, as you remember, the green and that kind of eucalyptus color or sage color. Then I we're speeding along here. I'm using the scallop rectangle, chose one of them out of pink paper, and then cut a white panel on the inside that just goes on the inside of that panel. Now I have a brown background. This is going to fit exactly on my card base, so it covers the whole front. I'm using vintage photo here, and I'm just taking the large stamp and I'm stamping it around. I don't care about the center because that scalloped pink that I cut out and with the white is going to go on top. So only thing that's going to show is the outsides. Now, like I say, I used vintage photo, but I earlier used dark chocolate and had stamped it, and I thought, well, I needed to be a little bit lighter, so I went to vintage photo. But we'll check it out in a few minutes to see which side we like. But for right now, I'm just going to pick through my flowers. I'm going to pick 3 flowers that I'm going to use for this card, and then I'm going to use these more long sprigs of greenery. And I really like the 2 colors together, so that's why I cut them out of the 2 different colors, and because I think it gives it some interest there. Now that I have that kind of idea of how it's going to look, I'm thinking, do I want the dark or do I want the light? I thought the dark was too dark at first, but I'm going to go with the dark. In the end, once I had the flowers out there, I thought the dark was the way to go. You can decide what your eye likes the most, but I went with the dark, and I'm going to put this right on top of the front of the card base, and now I'm putting that white panel that fits right inside the pink scalloped one, and then I'm going to mount the pink scalloped one right on top. And I chose to have a 1/2 inch all the way around the pink scalloped one. So the brown, that's why it is that size. I told you it was like 6 1/8 by 5. And that was because the scallop size I chose, that gave me about a 1/2 inch all the way around that scallop. So that's what it turned out to be, but you can choose whatever size works for you. Now that I have all of these, we know exactly how we're going to put it together because we did some flower arranging earlier. And so now all I have to do, all the hard work is done. I know how they're going to be arranged, so now I just need to use a little spots of glue and glue these together. Now, I have a sentiment that I actually had cut out before using the sentiment packs that I told you. This one has the hello. I cut it out of black and then cut the shadow out of white. I happen to really like the shadow. You can because it really sets off the hello, because the hello is quite fine. The fineness of these words work nicely apart for some, but for this particular project, I thought putting the shadow on it would really set it off a little bit more. So I'm just gluing the black hello onto the shadow, and then you can see let's see where it should go. I think I'm going to set it here. I'm going to put a few of the foam squares on here. I'm going to cut one of them in half so it can fit into a smaller area. Probably, you can see me, I snip that, and we're going to just, now it fits on there so lovely. And I'm just going to mount that. And that is our card, our number one card that is finished. Now to give you another idea of how you can use all these dahlias and that I made, I took this one is an A2 size. I took 2 panels of black A2 and I'm taping them together because I want a double thickness because I want to emboss this. So I use that stitched leaves cover plate. You can see how you have these really nice stitched leaves. It's a subtle thing with the card because a lot of it's going to be covered up, but it is I just really like that extra little detail. Now I'm going to put together these yellow flowers so they have that little darker, orange center, just so I have everything ready here. And you can see I already did off camera a thanks, but you know what? Both of these cards would work really great if they were Mother's Day's cards. And that's a really nice thing because Mother's Day is coming right up. And I'm just arranging these to get an idea how I would like it to look. And then once I get the arrangement just right, just like I did on the others, then I can just put it together super, super fast. And I'm just going to tuck in. I'm using the smaller leaves out of that into the Bloom's Christmas sprigs. This one doesn't need that long spray. Just these little short ones work nicely. See, I cut out a mom, and then there's that mom set from Paper Tray Ink. I'm going to put that in my supply list in case that interests you. But because I already had the thanks done, just like I did the others, I'm going to use the thanks for this. But I don't know about you. I sometimes lightly tack it on because I might later decide, well, I'm going to use this as a Mother's Day card or a birthday card, and I'll take the thanks off and replace it with another sentiment. But now I know how I want these arranged, so I'm going to just tuck these in. And I've got this thing. You see that one flower that's kind of hanging off the right side. Well, I don't like to cut them. I know I can, but you'll see in the end that I'm going to tuck it further in so I don't have to cut the flower. That's just one of my own little phobias. And I'm tucking in this green leaves. And I think the green leaves, and especially when you have the two different colors, really gives some interest, and they really make these flowers pop. Now I've decided that I'm going to just rearrange these so that this flower is on top. I like that better. And then I have the thanks. But you'll see that flower on the right side. I tucked it in because I didn't want to cut it off. I thought it was too pretty to cut off those edges. So that finished the card. I just mounted the thanks, and we have two wonderful cards. Here's a recap of the card that we made first. And you'll have to let me know which one you like the best. But this gives you two inspirations on how to use the dahlias. And like I say, just for a limited time, you can get these at a special discount. And because we're spotlighting them, it's a new feature that we're going to be offering where we'll periodically spotlight some products, and you can get them at a special offer. So here they are all together, and so you can see the two together, and that will really help you decide. And you'll have to let me know which one you like the best. I just love how they're just a big bunch of flowers. They're so cheery. So as a recap, I'm using the Paper Tray Ink Dahlia Stamp and Die Set, the Paper Tray Into the Blooms Christmas Sprigs, the Paper Tray Into the Blooms #2. Then I use that Lawn Fawn scallop rectangles, and there are a few other things. You can find them in the supply list that's all listed down below. There's a link. You can go and check out everything that I used, plus some suggestions for the sentiments if you want to have some alternatives. So I want to thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed the projects. I hope that you give it a whirl and put your own personality into these and what colors that you just love. and create your own. And remember, you can save with these for a limited time. Save with on the dahlias for a limited time, just because this is our spotlight for the day. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time. Bye.